The chestnut mare crossed the finish line 3 lengths ahead of the nearest competitor, and Lucy Vance knew in that moment her life was about to change forever. Though she had no idea a ruined cowboy watching from the sidelines would bet everything he had left on her winning the next race. The year was 1887, and Holbrook, Arizona was a town that lived and breathed horses. The high desert landscape stretched endlessly in every direction, dotted with scrub brush and the occasional juniper tree. The air was dry and hot, even in late September, and dust seemed to be a permanent fixture in everyone's lungs. Lucy had arrived in Holbrook 3 weeks ago with nothing but her mare, Wildfire, $20 sewn into the lining of her jacket, and a desperate need to outrun the memories of her father's ranch being foreclosed back in Kansas. She slid off Wildfire's back, her legs trembling slightly from the exertion of the race. The mare's sides heaved with breath, but her eyes were bright and alert. Lucy stroked her neck, feeling the slick sweat beneath her palm. Around them, men were shouting, exchanging money, cursing their losses. She had beaten 12 riders in that preliminary heat, all of them men who had looked at her with amusement when she had signed up for the Holbrook Racing Fair. "You rode like the devil himself was chasing you," a voice said behind her. Lucy turned to see an older man with a silver mustache and a badge pinned to his vest. Sheriff Daniels had been kind to her since she had arrived, letting her sleep in the stable behind the jailhouse when she had nowhere else to go. "Just rode like I wanted to win," Lucy replied, allowing herself a small smile. "Well, you have got the attention of every gambler in the territory now. The championship race is tomorrow, and I heard tell the purse has grown to $500. $500. It was more money than Lucy had seen in her entire 22 years of life. It was enough to start over, maybe buy a small piece of land, build a cabin. It was hope in a currency she could hold. "I will be ready," she said. Sheriff Daniels nodded, then glanced over her shoulder. "You might want to watch yourself. Not everyone is happy about a woman showing up these local riders. Pride is a dangerous thing in men who have too much of it." Lucy followed his gaze to see a group of men standing near the betting tables, their expressions dark. She recognized 2 of them from the race, riders she had left eating her dust. But it was not them that caught her attention. It was the man standing slightly apart from the group, tall and lean, with dark hair that fell just past his collar. He wore a battered hat, dusty trousers, and a shirt that had seen better days. But it was his eyes that held her. Even from a distance she could see the intensity in them, a kind of desperate calculation. "Who is that?" she asked. "Sam Jennings," the sheriff said, and there was a note of sympathy in his voice. "Used to own the Double J Ranch, one of the finest spreads in the territory. Lost it in a card game to Raymond Bartlett 6 months ago. Word is Bartlett cheated, but Sam could not prove it. He has been working odd jobs around town ever since, trying to scrape together enough money to get back on his feet." Lucy felt a pang of recognition. She knew what it was like to lose everything, to have the ground pulled out from under you. She turned back to Wildfire, focusing on loosening the girth and checking the mare's legs for any sign of strain. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation. Lucy walked Wildfire to cool her down, gave her a thorough grooming, checked her shoes, and made sure she had plenty of water and good hay. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Lucy finally allowed herself to rest. She sat on a hay bale outside Wildfire's stall, eating a simple meal of bread and cheese she had bought with a few coins from her dwindling supply. "Miss Vance." She looked up to find Sam Jennings standing a few feet away, hat in his hands. Up close, she could see the lines of hardship etched into his face, but also a fundamental decency in his eyes. He was perhaps 26 or 27, she guessed, with strong hands and the bearing of a man who had spent his life working the land. "That is me," she said, not standing. She was tired, and she had learned to be wary of men who approached her when she was alone. "I wanted to talk to you about the race tomorrow," he said. "May I?" He gestured to the space beside her on the hay bale. After a moment, Lucy nodded. Sam sat down, leaving a respectful distance between them. He turned his hat in his hands, clearly searching for words. "I am going to be straight with you, Miss Vance. I watched you ride today, and you are better than any rider I have seen in years, man or woman. You have a real gift." "Thank you," Lucy said cautiously. "I want to place a bet on you to win tomorrow, a big bet. All the money I have left in the world, which is about $350. Lucy's eyes widened. "That is a lot of money to risk on a horse race." "It is all I have left to risk," Sam said quietly. "The odds are going to be good because most of the men in this town cannot imagine a woman beating them. They are fools. I am not a fool, Miss Vance. I know what I saw today. If you win, and I bet right, I could win back enough to buy back my ranch from Bartlett. He is willing to sell it back to me for $2,000, probably because he knows I will never have that kind of money. But if you win, and I place the right bets, I will have it." Lucy studied him carefully. "Why are you telling me this? Most gamblers would not want the rider to know about their bets. Because I want you to know what is riding on this race, at least for me. I want you to know that someone believes in you, and I want to be honest with you. If there is any reason you might not win, any problem with your horse or your equipment or anything at all, I need to know before I place this bet." There was something deeply earnest in his voice, a vulnerability that touched something in Lucy's chest. She thought about lying, about protecting herself from the weight of his expectations, but she found she could not do it. Wildfire is sound. She is strong and fast and smart. I have been training her since she was a yearling, and she has never let me down. But racing is unpredictable. There are always things that can go wrong. I cannot guarantee a win, Mr. Jennings. I can only guarantee that I will ride my best." Sam was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. "That is all I can ask for. I believe in you, Miss Vance. I am going to place that bet." He stood up, settling his hat back on his head. Before he could walk away, Lucy spoke. "Why did you lose your ranch, Mr. Jennings? The sheriff said something about a card game." Pain flickered across Sam's face. "Raymond Bartlett invited me to play poker at the saloon. I am not usually a gambling man, but he kept pushing, kept saying I was afraid. My pride got the better of me. I thought I could handle myself. Turns out I could not handle a cheat. By the end of the night, I had lost everything my family built over 3 generations. My father would be ashamed of me. Or he would understand that you were cheated," Lucy said softly. "Pride makes fools of all of us sometimes." Sam met her eyes, and something passed between them, a recognition of shared pain and shared determination. "I will see you at the race tomorrow, Miss Vance. Ride well." "I intend to," Lucy said. That night, Lucy barely slept. She kept thinking about Sam Jennings and his $350, about the weight of his hope resting on Wildfire's hooves. She thought about her own father, dead now 2 years, and how he had taught her to ride before she could properly walk. She thought about the ranch she had grown up on, lost to debt and drought and bad luck. She thought about how much she wanted to win, not just for the money, but to prove something to herself and to every man who had ever looked at her and assumed she could not do what they could do. When dawn broke, Lucy was already awake. She groomed Wildfire until the mare's coat gleamed, then carefully checked every piece of her tack. The saddle was old but well maintained, the stirrup leathers strong, the bit properly fitted. She braided a small section of Wildfire's mane, a ritual her father had taught her for good luck. The fairgrounds were already crowded when Lucy led Wildfire out. It seemed like half the territory had shown up to watch the championship race. She could feel eyes on her as she made her way to the starting area, could hear the whispers and occasional crude comments. She kept her head up and her expression neutral. There were 15 riders in the championship race, including Lucy. She recognized some of them from yesterday's heats. Others were new, brought in specially for the main event. One man in particular caught her attention, a large, bearded rider named Carl Hutchins who sat astride a powerful gray stallion. He had been talking loudly near the betting tables about how he was going to teach the little girl a lesson about real riding. Lucy pushed the thought away and focused on her own preparation. She checked Wildfire's girth one more time, adjusted her stirrups, and swung up into the saddle. The mare danced beneath her, feeling the energy in the air. "Riders, to your marks," Lucy guided Wildfire to the starting line. The race was a 3-mile course that looped around the edge of town, over rough terrain that included hills, a dry creek bed, and a stretch of deep sand. It was designed to test both the speed and endurance of horse and rider. As Lucy settled into position, she caught sight of Sam Jennings standing near the finish line. He touched the brim of his hat to her, a gesture of faith and encouragement. Lucy felt her heart beat a little faster, though she told herself it was just pre-race nerves. On your marks. 15 horses lined up, their riders tense and ready. Get set. Lucy leaned forward slightly, feeling Wildfire coil beneath her like a spring. Go! The starting gun fired and chaos erupted. 15 horses lunged forward, their hooves thundering against the packed earth. Lucy let Wildfire have her head for the first few strides, letting the mare find her rhythm. Around them, other horses jostled for position. Someone's elbow caught Lucy in the ribs, but she ignored it, focused entirely on the ground ahead. The first mile was flat and fast. Lucy settled into 4th place, keeping Wildfire fresh. She could see Carl Hutchins in the lead, his gray stallion stretching out its stride. 2 other riders were close behind him, whipping their horses mercilessly. Lucy frowned at that. A horse pushed too hard too early would never last the full 3 miles. As they approached the first hill, Lucy began to make her move. She urged Wildfire forward, and the mare responded beautifully, her powerful hindquarters driving them up the slope. They passed one rider, then another. By the time they crested the hill, Lucy was in 2nd place, with only Carl Hutchins ahead of her. The descent was tricky, loose rocks and uneven ground that could easily cause a horse to stumble. Lucy sat deep in the saddle, keeping her weight balanced, letting Wildfire pick her own path. Behind her, she heard a horse scream and the thud of a body hitting the ground. She did not look back. The dry creek bed was next, about 30 feet wide with steep banks on either side. Most riders slowed their horses, carefully picking their way across the rocky bottom. But Lucy had ridden this course yesterday, had studied it carefully. She knew there was a spot about 20 yards to the left where the banks were shallower and the bottom was packed sand. She steered Wildfire toward it, and the mare flew across without breaking stride. It was enough. They pulled even with Carl Hutchins as they emerged from the creek bed. Lucy could see the surprise and anger on his face. He began to whip his gray stallion harder, but the horse was already tiring, its sides heaving. "Come on, girl," Lucy whispered to Wildfire. "Show them what you can do." The mare pinned her ears back and surged forward. They were in the lead now, but the hardest part of the course was still ahead. The sand stretch was a 1/4 mile of deep, loose sand that would sap the strength from any horse. Lucy knew the key was to maintain momentum without exhausting Wildfire. She kept the mare at a steady, driving pace, feeling the sand pull at Wildfire's hooves with every stride. Behind her, she could hear the labored breathing of other horses, the curses of their riders. But Wildfire was bred for endurance as well as speed. Her father had chosen her bloodlines carefully, mixing the speed of thoroughbred with the toughness of Mustang. Now that careful breeding was paying off. They emerged from the sand still in the lead, with only a half-mile to go. Lucy's arms ached from holding Wildfire steady, and her legs burned from gripping the saddle. But she could see the finish line ahead, could see the crowd gathered there, and she knew they were going to make it. In the final stretch, Lucy gave Wildfire her head completely. The mare flattened out, her legs flashing beneath her breath coming in great snorting gasps. Lucy leaned low over her neck, making herself as small as possible to reduce wind resistance. She could feel another horse coming up on her right, could hear its hoofbeats getting closer. But it did not matter. They crossed the finish line a full length ahead of the second-place rider, and the crowd erupted. Lucy sat up, her whole body shaking with exhaustion and exhilaration. She let Wildfire slow to a trot, then a walk, patting the mare's neck over and over. Good girl. Good, brave girl. People were shouting her name, pressing forward to see her. Sheriff Daniels appeared at her side, grinning broadly. By God, Miss Vance, that was the finest piece of riding I have ever seen. Lucy slid down from the saddle, her legs nearly buckling when her feet hit the ground. Someone thrust a canteen of water into her hands, and she drank gratefully, then poured some into her palm for Wildfire. The mare lipped it up, her eyes half closed with fatigue. The winner of the Holbrook Racing Fair Championship, Miss Lucy Vance. The announcer's voice boomed across the fairgrounds, and the crowd cheered, though Lucy noticed that not all the cheers were enthusiastic. Some men stood with their arms crossed, their expression sour. But she did not care. She had won. She had beaten every man in the race, and she had done it fairly. The prize money was presented in a leather pouch, $500 in gold coins that felt wonderfully heavy in her hand. Lucy clutched it to her chest, feeling tears prick at her eyes. This was real. This was a chance at a new life. As the crowd began to disperse, Lucy led Wildfire toward the stables, eager to get the mare properly cooled down and cared for. That was when Sam Jennings appeared at her side. His face was flushed, his eyes bright with emotion. "Miss Vance, I do not even know how to thank you. You just changed my life. I just won back my ranch." Lucy stopped walking, turning to face him fully. "You won enough. I won enough, and then some. $2,300. I already sent word to Bartlett that I will be at the bank first thing Monday morning with his money. The Double J is mine again." The joy in his voice was contagious. Lucy found herself smiling, genuinely happy for this man she barely knew. "That is wonderful, Mr. Jennings. I am so glad. Please call me Sam. And I know we do not know each other well, but I was hoping I could buy you dinner tonight, to say thank you properly, and maybe to talk about a proposition I have for you." Lucy hesitated. She was exhausted, covered in dust and sweat, and every muscle in her body ached. But there was something in Sam's expression, an openness and honesty that she found herself drawn to. "All right," she said. "Dinner would be nice. Let me get Wildfire settled first. Of course. I will meet you at the hotel restaurant at 7 o'clock. Lucy nodded, and Sam tipped his hat before walking away, a new lightness in his step. Lucy watched him go, then turned her attention back to Wildfire. The mare needed her care, and Lucy needed time to think about what had just happened. The afternoon passed quickly. Lucy gave Wildfire a thorough grooming, checked her legs carefully for any sign of strain or injury, and made sure she had plenty of water and a good feed. The mare seemed none the worse for wear, already munching contentedly on hay. Lucy lingered in the stable, putting off returning to her small rented room above the general store. She felt restless, unable to settle. Finally, as the sun began to sink toward the horizon, Lucy made her way to the hotel. She had one good dress, a simple dark blue cotton that she had carefully folded at the bottom of her bag. She washed up as best she could with the pitcher and basin in her room, scrubbing away the dust and sweat of the day. She brushed her long dark hair until it shone, then pinned it up in a simple style. When she looked at herself in the small, cracked mirror, she barely recognized the young woman staring back. There was something different in her eyes, a confidence that had not been there before. Sam was already waiting when Lucy arrived at the restaurant. He had cleaned up as well, his hair still damp, wearing what was clearly his best shirt. He stood when he saw her, and Lucy noticed the way his eyes widened slightly. "Miss Vance, you look lovely." "Thank you, and please call me Lucy." They sat down at a corner table, away from the main flow of diners. The restaurant was modest but clean, with checkered tablecloths and the smell of roasted meat and fresh bread. A tired-looking waitress came to take their order, and Sam insisted Lucy get whatever she wanted. "So," Lucy said after the waitress had left, "you mentioned a proposition." Sam nodded, turning serious. "I did, but first I want to hear about you. Where did you learn to ride like that? Where are you from?" Lucy was not used to people being interested in her story, but she found herself wanting to share it with Sam. She told him about growing up on her father's ranch in Kansas, about learning to ride before she could remember. She told him about her mother dying when she was young and how her father had raised her alone, teaching her everything he knew about horses and ranching. She told him about the drought that had killed their cattle, the loans they could not repay, the bank foreclosure. She told him about her father's death, about finding herself alone at 20 with nothing but Wildfire and a fierce determination not to end up dependent on anyone. "I have been working my way west for the past 2 years," she said, "taking odd jobs, entering small races when I could. I heard about the Holbrook fair and thought it might be my chance to finally get ahead." Sam listened intently, his expression growing more sympathetic with each word. When she finished, he reached across the table and gently touched her hand. "You have been through more than anyone should have to bear. You are very strong, Lucy." The warmth of his hand on hers sent an unexpected flutter through Lucy's chest. She pulled back slightly, not quite ready for that kind of connection. Sam seemed to understand, settling back in his chair. "Your turn," Lucy said. "Tell me about the Double J." Sam's face lit up. "It is the finest piece of land in the territory, 3,000 acres along the creek with good grass and water year-round. My grandfather started the ranch back in '62, right after Arizona Territory was established. My father built it up, ran cattle and bred horses. I grew up there, learned everything I know about ranching from my father and grandfather. When my father died 3 years ago, it passed to me. I have been running it alone since then. No wife." Lucy asked, then felt her face heat with embarrassment at her boldness. Sam shook his head, a sad smile on his face. "I was engaged once, about 5 years ago, but she decided she did not want to be a rancher's wife after all. She married a banker in Tucson. It worked out for the best, I think. She would not have been happy on the ranch." Their food arrived then. Thick steaks with potatoes and beans, and they ate in companionable silence for a few minutes. Lucy could not remember the last time she had eaten so well. When the worst of her hunger was satisfied, she looked up to find Sam watching her with an expression she could not quite read. "What is this proposition you wanted to discuss?" she asked. Sam set down his fork and leaned forward. "The Double J needs horses. Good horses. Before I lost the ranch, I was starting to build up a breeding program, but Bartlett sold off most of my stock. I need to start over. Lucy, I watched you and Wildfire today. That mare is exceptional and you have a gift for training. I would like you to come to the ranch and help me build a horse breeding and training operation. I can offer you a fair wage, a place to live, and a partnership. 20% of the profits from any horses we sell or race. Lucy stared at him, her mind racing. It was an incredible offer, more than she had hoped for. But it was also risky. She barely knew this man. What if it did not work out? What if he turned out to be like so many other men, promising respect but delivering something else entirely? As if reading her thoughts, Sam said, I know we do not know each other well. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I give you my word, Lucy, you would be a true partner. Your own cabin on the property, your own space, no strings attached. Just two people working together to build something good. Lucy looked into his eyes and saw only sincerity. She thought about the alternative, drifting from town to town, never putting down roots, always alone. She thought about Wildfire and how much the mare deserved a real home. And she thought about the strange pull she felt toward Sam, a connection she did not quite understand but could not deny. I will need to think about it, she said finally. Can you give me a few days? Of course. Take all the time you need. I will be in town until Monday anyway, getting the paperwork sorted out with Bartlett and the bank. They finished their meal talking about easier topics. Lucy learned that Sam loved to read, that he had a particular fondness for poetry, though he would never admit it to most people. Sam learned that Lucy could play the fiddle, taught by her father on long winter evenings. They discovered they both loved thunderstorms and hated coffee, but drank it anyway because it was expected. By the time they parted ways outside the restaurant, Lucy felt like she had known Sam much longer than a single day. Thank you for dinner, she said, and for believing in me today. Thank you for winning, Sam replied with a warm smile. Sleep well, Lucy. Lucy lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling of her small room. Her body was exhausted, but her mind would not settle. She kept thinking about Sam's offer, turning it over and over in her head. It made practical sense. The money she had won would not last forever, and she needed a stable situation if she wanted to build a real life. But it was more than that. She thought about Sam's hands, strong and careful. She thought about the way he had looked at her, with respect and admiration. She thought about the possibility of having a real home again, of not being alone. By morning, she had made her decision. She found Sam at the livery stable, examining a sturdy buckskin gelding. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and she saw hope flare in his eyes. I want to see the ranch first, Lucy said without preamble. If it is everything you say it is, if Wildfire takes to the land, then yes, I will accept your offer. Sam's face broke into a wide grin. That is more than fair. I can take you out there this afternoon if you like. It is about an hour's ride from town. They set out just after noon, Sam on the buckskin he was borrowing and Lucy on Wildfire. The day was hot and clear, the sky an endless blue dome overhead. They rode east from Holbrook, following the path of Cottonwood Creek. The land was rugged and beautiful in its own harsh way, all red rock and scrub brush and distant mesas. As they rode, Sam pointed out landmarks and told her stories about the area. He showed her where Apaches had once camped, where a famous shootout had happened 10 years ago, where the best fishing holes were. Lucy found herself relaxing, enjoying the ride and the company. Wildfire seemed to enjoy it too, her ears pricked forward with interest. After about an hour they topped a rise and Sam stopped. There it is, the Double J. Lucy looked down at the valley below and felt her breath catch. The ranch was everything Sam had said and more. The main house was a solid adobe structure with a wide porch, surrounded by cottonwood trees that provided shade. Several outbuildings dotted the property, including a large barn, corrals, and what looked like bunkhouses. The creek ran along the southern edge of the property, lined with willows. And the land itself was beautiful, rolling grassland that stretched as far as Lucy could see. "Oh, Sam," she breathed. "It is perfect." They rode down into the valley, and Lucy's initial impression only strengthened. The buildings were well maintained, the corrals sturdy, the barn spacious and well ventilated. Sam showed her everything, his pride evident in every word. He showed her the cabin he was proposing she take, a small but solid structure about 100 yards from the main house. It had a wood stove, a real bed frame, a table and chairs, and a window that looked out toward the creek. "What do you think?" Sam asked, and Lucy could hear the nervousness in his voice. "I think you have a deal," Lucy said, extending her hand. Sam took it, his grip warm and firm. "Partners, then?" "Partners." They stood there for a moment, hands clasped, and Lucy felt something shift inside her chest. This was the beginning of something, though she was not quite sure what yet. Over the next few weeks, Lucy settled into life at the Double J. She moved her meager possessions into the cabin and began the work of turning it into a home. Sam was true to his word, treating her as an equal partner in all decisions about the horses. They started with just 4 horses. Wildfire, the buckskin gelding Sam had borrowed and then purchased, and 2 mares Sam had managed to track down that had originally been part of his breeding stock before Bartlett sold them off. Lucy threw herself into the work with a passion she had not felt in years. She spent hours each day working with the horses, assessing their strengths and weaknesses, developing training plans. Sam worked alongside her, and Lucy was impressed by his knowledge and skill. He was patient with the animals, never cruel, always willing to take the time to do things right. They fell into an easy rhythm, working together during the day and eating dinner together most evenings. Sam was teaching Lucy the business side of ranching, showing her the account books and explaining how he planned to rebuild the operation. Lucy was teaching Sam some of the training techniques her father had taught her, methods that emphasized building trust rather than breaking spirit. As October turned to November and the desert air grew cooler, Lucy realized she was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way she had not been since before her father died. The work was hard but satisfying. The land was beautiful, and Sam was wonderful. That was the truth she had been trying not to face. She was falling for Sam Jennings. It was in the way her heart beat faster when she saw him walking toward the barn in the mornings. It was in the way she found herself watching him when she thought he was not looking, admiring the strength in his arms, the kindness in his eyes. It was in the way she felt safe around him, trusted him in a way she had not trusted anyone in a long time. But Lucy had no idea if Sam felt the same way. He was always respectful, always appropriate. He never touched her beyond the occasional hand on her shoulder or arm. He never made any indication that he saw her as anything more than a business partner and friend. Lucy told herself that was enough, that she should be grateful for what she had. But late at night, alone in her cabin, she could not help wishing for more. One evening in mid-November, Sam invited Lucy to the main house for dinner. "I want to cook for you," he said, "to celebrate our first month as partners and to thank you for all your hard work." Lucy agreed, though she felt unaccountably nervous as she walked to the main house as the sun was setting. She had been inside the house before, but always just briefly, always during the day. This felt different, more intimate somehow. Sam had clearly gone to considerable effort. The table was set with what looked like his mother's good china. Candles provided soft light. The smell of roasting chicken filled the air. Lucy felt underdressed in her simple work clothes, but Sam smiled at her as if she were wearing the finest dress in the world. "You did not have to go to all this trouble," Lucy said. "I wanted to," Sam replied. "You deserve to be appreciated, Lucy. You have worked harder than anyone I have ever known, and you have helped me see a future for this place that I had almost given up on." They sat down to eat, and the food was surprisingly good. Sam admitted he had been practicing for 3 days, determined not to poison her. Lucy laughed, feeling some of her nervousness ease. As they ate, they talked about their plans for the ranch. Sam had been contacted by a buyer in California who was interested in purchasing good quality horses for his ranch. It was potentially their first big sale, and they were both excited and nervous about it. "I have been thinking," Sam said as they finished the main course. "We need a name for our horse operation, something that sets us apart. Do you have any ideas?" Lucy thought for a moment. "What about Wildfire ranch horses, after the mare that started all of this?" Sam's eyes lit up. "That is perfect. Wildfire ranch horses. I love it." He stood up and went to a cabinet, pulling out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "I think this calls for a toast. To Wildfire ranch horses, and to the best partner a man could ask for." They clinked glasses and drank. The whiskey burned going down, but it sent a pleasant warmth through Lucy's chest. Sam poured them each another small measure, and they moved to the sitting area, where a fire crackled in the fireplace. They sat side by side on the worn leather sofa, and Lucy was acutely aware of Sam's proximity, the warmth radiating from his body. The whiskey and the firelight and the intimacy of the evening were making her bold. "Sam, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Why did you really ask me to stay? Was it just about the horses?" Sam was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and rough with emotion. "At first, yes. I saw an opportunity to rebuild faster with someone who had your skills. But Lucy, it stopped being just about the horses pretty quickly. You have to know that." Lucy's heart was pounding. "What do you mean?" Sam turned to face her, and the intensity in his eyes took her breath away. "I mean that I have fallen in love with you. I have been trying to respect our partnership and not make things complicated. But I cannot help it, Lucy. You are the strongest, bravest, most beautiful woman I have ever met. You have brought life back to this ranch and to me. I think about you constantly. I dream about you. And I know I am probably ruining everything by telling you this, but I cannot keep pretending I only see you as a business partner." Lucy felt tears spring to her eyes. "You are not ruining anything. Sam, I love you too. I have been so afraid to say it, so afraid you did not feel the same way." Sam reached up and gently cupped her face in his hands. "I love you. I love you so much it scares me sometimes." Then he was kissing her, and Lucy felt like she was flying. His lips were warm and soft, and she melted into him, wrapping her arms around his neck. The kiss deepened, becoming hungry and desperate, months of suppressed longing pouring out. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sam rested his forehead against hers. "I want a future with you, Lucy. Not just as partners in the ranch, but as partners in everything. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you, raise a family with you. I know it is fast, and I know we have only known each other a few months, but when something is right, you just know. And this is right. You are right." Lucy was crying now, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes. Yes to all of it. I want that too, Sam. I want everything with you." They kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. When they pulled apart, Sam smiled, that warm, genuine smile that Lucy loved so much. "Will you marry me, Lucy Vance? Will you be my wife?" "Yes," Lucy said, laughing through her tears. "Yes, I will marry you." Sam stood up and pulled her to her feet, spinning her around. They were both laughing now, giddy with joy and relief. When he set her down, he kissed her again, and Lucy felt like her heart might burst from happiness. They were married 3 weeks later in a simple ceremony at the small church in Holbrook. Sheriff Daniels gave Lucy away, having become something of a father figure to her. About 30 people attended, including most of Sam's neighbors and some of the townsfolk who had befriended Lucy. She wore a cream-colored dress that Sam had insisted on buying for her, and Sam wore a new suit that made him look impossibly handsome. When the preacher pronounced them man and wife, and Sam kissed her in front of everyone, Lucy felt a sense of belonging she had not experienced since her father died. She was not alone anymore. She had a husband, a home, a purpose. She had love. The reception was held at the hotel restaurant, with music and dancing and more food than Lucy had seen in years. She danced with Sam, with the sheriff, with several of Sam's neighbors who wanted to welcome her properly to the community. But her favorite part of the entire day was when Sam pulled her aside during the festivities into a quiet corner and simply held her. "I am so happy," he whispered into her hair. "Thank you for taking a chance on me." "Thank you for believing in me," Lucy whispered back. "For betting on me when no one else would." That night, Lucy moved her belongings from the cabin into the main house, into Sam's room, which was now their room. They made love for the first time, tender and passionate and full of wonder. Lucy had never felt so cherished, so wanted. Sam was gentle and patient, making sure she felt safe and loved. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the darkness, talking and laughing and planning their future. Life settled into a new rhythm after the wedding. Lucy and Sam worked side by side during the days, training horses and building their operation. At night, they would eat dinner together, sometimes reading aloud to each other, sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. And in bed, they discovered each other with a passion that never seemed to fade. By spring, Wildfire Ranch Horses was thriving. They had sold 3 horses to the buyer in California for excellent prices, and word was spreading about the quality of their stock. They had also bred Wildfire to a strong quarter-horse stallion, and Lucy was eagerly anticipating the foal. It was in early April that Lucy realized she had not had her monthly courses in over 2 months. At first, she thought it was just the stress and physical exertion of ranch work. But as the days passed and she began to feel queasy in the mornings, the truth became undeniable. She was pregnant. Lucy was terrified. She was excited too, but mostly terrified. What if something went wrong? What if she was not a good mother? What if the pregnancy interfered with her work on the ranch? She agonized for 3 days before finally telling Sam. They were sitting on the porch after dinner, watching the sun set in a blaze of orange and red. Lucy took a deep breath and reached for Sam's hand. "I need to tell you something." Sam turned to her, concern flickering across his face. "What is it? Is everything all right?" "I think so. I hope so." "Sam, I am going to have a baby." For a moment, Sam just stared at her, his face blank with shock. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face, growing wider and wider until he was grinning like a fool. "A baby! We are going to have a baby," Lucy nodded, tears filling her eyes. "Are you happy?" "I know it is soon, and I know it might complicate things with the ranch, but I am happy even though I am scared, and I hope you are happy too because—" Sam cut her off with a kiss, pulling her into his arms. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes too. "Lucy, I am beyond happy. I am ecstatic. You are going to be the most amazing mother. We are going to have a family. This is everything I have ever wanted." Lucy sagged against him, relief flooding through her. "I love you so much." "I love you too, both of you." The pregnancy was not easy. Lucy suffered from morning sickness that lasted most of the day for the first 3 months. The desert heat in summer was oppressive. making her swollen ankles worse. But Sam was attentive and caring, taking on more of the physical work and making sure Lucy rested. The wives of neighboring ranchers rallied around her too, bringing her food and advice and reassurance. In December of 1888, on a cold, clear night, Lucy went into labor. Sam rode hell-bent for town to fetch the doctor and the midwife, terrified that the baby would come before they could return. But Lucy's labor was long, lasting nearly 20 hours. Sam held her hand through all of it, wiping her forehead, encouraging her, telling her how strong she was. Finally, just as dawn was breaking, their son was born. He came into the world screaming, red-faced and perfect. The midwife cleaned him up and placed him in Lucy's arms, and Lucy fell instantly, completely in love. "He is beautiful," Sam whispered, tears streaming down his face. "He looks like you. He has your nose," Lucy said, laughing and crying at the same time. They named him William Samuel Jennings, after Sam's father and grandfather. Little Will was a healthy, happy baby, and Lucy marveled daily at the miracle of him. She had never imagined she could love anything as much as she loved her son. The first few months were exhausting. Will woke every few hours to nurse, and Lucy walked around in a haze of sleeplessness. But Sam was there for everything, changing diapers, walking the floor with Will when he was fussy, taking over the baby's care in the mornings so Lucy could get a few extra hours of sleep. They were a team in parenting as they were in everything else. As Will grew, Lucy gradually returned to working with the horses, though her priorities had shifted. She still loved the work, but her son came first. Sam understood completely, happy to take on more of the training while Lucy focused on the business side and on the breeding program. Wildfire's foal, a beautiful bay filly they named Ember, showed incredible promise from an early age. By the time Ember was 2, Lucy was training her, and it was clear the filly had inherited her mother's speed and intelligence. They bred Wildfire again, and then again, establishing a bloodline that was becoming known throughout the territory. Life was good. The ranch was prospering, their marriage was strong, and Will was growing into a bright, curious little boy. But Lucy could not shake the feeling that something was incomplete. She wanted more children. She wanted Will to have siblings, to grow up in a house full of love and laughter the way she had not been able to. She broached the subject with Sam one night as they lay in bed, Will finally asleep in his cradle across the room. "I want to have more children," Lucy said. "If we are blessed with them, I want a big family." Sam pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. "I want that too, as many children as we are blessed with. I love being a father, I love our life, and I love you more than anything in this world." Over the next several years, their family grew. In 1891, Lucy gave birth to twin girls, Emma and Sarah. The girls were fraternal twins, Emma with Lucy's dark hair and Sam's blue eyes, Sarah with Sam's lighter hair and Lucy's brown eyes. They were a handful, into everything, and Lucy and Sam were exhausted but deliriously happy. 2 years later, another son arrived, Daniel, who was quiet and thoughtful even as a baby. And in 1895, their youngest daughter, Grace, completed their family. 5 children, a thriving ranch, and a love that had only grown deeper with time. The years were not without challenges. There were droughts that tested their water resources, illnesses that scared them, moments when money was tight and they worried about making ends meet. In 1893, a fire started in the barn during a dry lightning storm. Sam and Lucy and several neighbors fought it for hours, finally getting it under control before it spread to the house or the corrals. They lost the barn but rebuilt it stronger than before, the whole community coming together to help. Through it all, Lucy and Sam remained each other's rock. When Lucy was overwhelmed with the children, Sam was there to shoulder the burden. When Sam worried about the finances or the future of the ranch, Lucy was there to encourage him and help him find solutions. They made decisions together, raised their children together, and built a life together that neither could have imagined when they first met at that horse race so many years ago. Wildfire ranch horses became one of the most respected operations in Arizona territory. Their horses were known for their speed, intelligence, and temperament. Buyers came from as far as California and Texas to purchase their stock. Lucy and Sam were able to expand the ranch, purchasing additional land and building a new, larger barn. Wildfire herself lived to the ripe old age of 23, producing 12 foals over her lifetime, each one exceptional. When she finally passed peacefully in her sleep in 1901, Lucy and Sam buried her on a hill overlooking the ranch with a simple wooden marker. Lucy cried for days, mourning the mare that had changed her life, that had brought her to Sam and to this beautiful future. But Wildfire's legacy lived on in her offspring and in the life Lucy had built. Ember, her first foal, became the foundation mare for the next generation of Wildfire ranch horses. Will, now a young man of 13, showed a natural talent for training that rivaled his mother's. The twins were fearless riders, always begging to help with the horses. Daniel preferred the business side, showing an aptitude for numbers and record-keeping that impressed his parents. And little Grace, at 6 years old, declared that she was going to be the best horse racer in the whole world when she grew up, just like Mama. One evening in the spring of 1902, Lucy and Sam sat on the porch of the ranch house, watching the sun set over the land they had built together. The children were inside, the older ones helping to get the younger ones ready for bed. From inside the house came the sound of laughter and the occasional squabble, the beautiful chaos of family life. "Can you believe it has been 15 years since that race in Holbrook?" Sam asked, reaching over to take Lucy's hand. Lucy thought back to that hot September day in 1887, when she had been alone and desperate and brave enough to enter a race against all those men. She thought about seeing Sam for the first time, about the leap of faith they had both taken. She thought about all the years since, the joy and the struggle and the love. "It feels like a lifetime ago," Lucy said. "And also like yesterday." Sam raised her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. "You know what I think about sometimes? What would have happened if you had not won that race? If I had not bet on you, would we have still found each other?" Lucy smiled. "I like to think we would have. Some things are just meant to be, but I am grateful every day that we found each other the way we did. You believed in me when I needed it most. You gave me a reason to hope again." "You saved me too," Sam said softly. "I was drowning in bitterness and regret before you came along. You reminded me that life could be good, that there were still things worth fighting for. You gave me back my ranch, but more importantly, you gave me a future." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. After a while, Will came out onto the porch. "Mama, Papa, the littles are in bed. Emma and Sarah are reading in their room and Daniel is working on his arithmetic. Can I go check on the horses before bed?" Lucy smiled at her son, now tall and strong, looking more like his father every day. "Yes, but do not be too long. You have school in the morning." "Yes, Mama." Will headed toward the barn, and Lucy felt a surge of pride and love. Her children were growing up on this land, learning the value of hard work and the importance of treating animals with respect. They were growing up knowing they were loved, that they belonged. It was everything she had ever wanted for them. "We did good," Sam said, as if reading her thoughts. "We did," Lucy agreed. "We did really good." As the years continued to pass, the Jennings family remained at the heart of the community. Lucy became known not just for her horsemanship, but for her kindness and her willingness to help neighbors in need. Sam served on the town council and helped establish a school district so that children in the outlying ranches could get a proper education. Their children grew up strong and confident, each finding their own path while remaining close to the family. In 1912, when Arizona finally achieved statehood, the Jennings family celebrated along with the rest of the territory. By then, Will was 24 and running much of the day-to-day operations of the ranch. He had married a lovely young woman named Catherine, and they had just welcomed their first child, making Lucy and Sam grandparents. The twins, now 21, were both pursuing their own dreams, Emma training as a teacher and Sarah working alongside Lucy in the horse breeding program. Daniel, at 19, had gone to college in California to study business, with plans to return and help expand the Wildfire Ranch horses operation. And Grace, at 17, was every bit the rider her mother had been, winning races throughout the territory and breaking hearts wherever she went. Lucy was now 47 years old, her dark hair threaded with silver, lines around her eyes that came from years of squinting into the desert sun. But she was still strong, still vital, still very much in love with her husband. Sam, at 51, had more gray in his hair and moved a little slower than he used to, but his eyes still lit up whenever Lucy walked into a room. One evening, as they prepared for bed, Sam pulled Lucy into his arms and held her close. "What are you thinking about?" Lucy asked, feeling his heart beat steady and strong beneath her cheek. "I was thinking about that first night I saw you race, how you looked on that mare, so fierce and determined, how I knew somehow that you were going to change my life. I just had no idea how much." Lucy pulled back to look into his eyes. "Do you have any regrets about any of it?" "Not a single one," Sam said firmly. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Lucy Jennings. You and our children and this life we have built. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would not change a single moment." "I love you," Lucy said, tears gathering in her eyes. "I love you so much it still surprises me sometimes. After all these years, I still get butterflies when you smile at me." "I love you too," Sam said. "Always have, always will." They kissed, tender and sweet, a kiss that held 25 years of history and love and partnership. When they finally climbed into bed, Lucy curled into Sam's side, her head on his chest, and felt completely at peace. The next morning brought a surprise visitor. Raymond Bartlett, the man who had cheated Sam out of his ranch all those years ago, rode up to the main house. Lucy tensed when she saw him, old anger rising in her chest. But Sam just squeezed her hand and walked out to greet him. Bartlett looked older, worn down by life. He dismounted slowly, clearly in pain. "Sam, Lucy, I hope I am not intruding." "What do you want, Bartlett?" Sam asked, his voice carefully neutral. "I wanted to apologize," Bartlett said, surprising them both. "I know it is about 25 years too late, but I wanted to say I am sorry. I did cheat you out of this ranch. It has eaten at me every day since. I have lost everything because of my dishonesty. My wife left me, my business failed, my health is failing. I am dying, Sam, cancer. The doctor gives me maybe 3 months. And I could not die without telling you the truth and asking your forgiveness." Lucy watched Sam carefully, saw the emotions play across his face. She knew he had every right to turn Bartlett away, to refuse forgiveness. But she also knew her husband, knew the goodness in his heart. After a long moment, Sam extended his hand. "I forgive you, Raymond. What you did was wrong, but it led me to Lucy and to this life, and I would not trade that for anything. Go in peace." Bartlett shook Sam's hand, tears running down his weathered face. "Thank you. You are a better man than I ever was." He turned to leave, then paused. "You have a beautiful family and a beautiful life, Sam. You deserved all of it." After Bartlett rode away, Lucy hugged Sam tightly. "That was incredibly generous of you." "It was the right thing to do," Sam said simply. "Holding on to bitterness and anger only poisons your own life. I learned that a long time ago." It was one of the things Lucy loved most about Sam, his capacity for forgiveness and his fundamental decency. It was a quality she tried to instill in their children, teaching them by word and example. As the years rolled on, Lucy and Sam watched their grandchildren grow, welcomed new grandchildren, and eventually even great-grandchildren. They remained active in the ranch operations well into their 60s and 70s, though they gradually turned more of the responsibilities over to Will and Sarah, who had taken over the day-to-day management of Wildfire ranch horses. The ranch itself had grown into one of the most successful horse breeding and training operations in the state of Arizona. The Wildfire bloodline was famous, and horses bearing that lineage commanded premium prices. But more than the financial success, Lucy was proud of the reputation they had built for integrity, quality, and fair dealing. In 1935, Lucy and Sam celebrated their 48th wedding anniversary. By then, Lucy was 70 and Sam was 74. They were both showing the effects of age, moving slower, tiring more easily. But their love had not diminished. If anything, it had grown deeper and richer with time. On the evening of their anniversary, surrounded by their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, Sam stood up to make a toast. His hand shook slightly as he raised his glass, but his voice was strong. "48 years ago, I married the most remarkable woman I have ever known. Lucy came into my life when I had lost everything, and she gave me back not just my ranch, but my hope and my future. She gave me a family and a life beyond anything I could have imagined. Lucy, you are my partner, my best friend, and the love of my life. Here is to you, and to the incredible journey we have shared." Everyone cheered and drank, and Lucy felt tears streaming down her face. Sam sat down beside her and took her hand, and they looked around at the crowd of loved ones, at the legacy they had created together. Later that night, as they lay in bed, Sam suddenly said, "Do you remember what you said to me that first night after I told you I was betting on you?" Lucy thought back, trying to remember. "I said I could not guarantee I would win, only that I would ride my best." "Yes. And that is what you have done every day since. You have given your best to everything. To the horses, to the ranch, to our children, and to me. You have been the best partner, the best wife, the best mother. I am so grateful for every moment we have had together." Lucy rolled onto her side, looking into Sam's eyes. "You have been the best part of my life, Sam Jennings. That day I rode into Holbrook with nothing but Wildfire and $20. I could never have imagined I would find this, that I would find you. You gave me a home and a family and love that has sustained me through everything. I would do it all again in a heartbeat." They fell asleep holding hands, as they had done for nearly 5 decades. Sam Jennings passed away peacefully in his sleep in January of 1936, just a few weeks shy of his 75th birthday. Lucy was devastated, feeling like half of herself had been torn away. But she was surrounded by family, and she found comfort in the memories of their life together and in the knowledge that Sam had died happy, loved, and at peace. Lucy lived for another 8 years, remaining on the ranch until her final days. She spent her time with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, telling them stories about the old days, about the horse race that changed her life, about the man who had believed in her when no one else did. She passed away in her sleep in May of 1944, at the age of 79, in the same bed she had shared with Sam for so many years. They buried her next to Sam on the hill overlooking the ranch, near where Wildfire rested. The whole community turned out for the funeral, testament to the impact Lucy and Sam had made on so many lives. Their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren stood together, united in love and grief, a living legacy to the partnership and love that had started with a horse race and a bet nearly 60 years before. Wildfire Ranch Horses continues to this day, now run by the 5th generation of the Jennings family. The main house still stands, lovingly maintained and full of memories. And on the hill, 3 simple markers stand together. Wildfire, the mare who started it all, Sam Jennings, the cowboy who bet on love, and Lucy Vance Jennings, the woman who beat every man in the race and won everything that mattered. Their story became legend in Holbrook and throughout Arizona, a testament to courage, faith, and the transformative power of love. It is a story told to children and grandchildren, a reminder that sometimes the biggest risks lead to the greatest rewards, and that true partnership and love can overcome any obstacle. And if you visit the Double J Ranch, now known officially as Wildfire Ranch, on a quiet evening when the sun is setting and the desert air is cool, you can almost see them. A woman on a chestnut mare, racing like the wind, and a man watching from the sidelines, believing in her with all his heart, ready to bet everything on a future they would build together.